where I'm going to talk to you about drills, and more specifically, drilling safely, efficiently, and learning how to practice using a drill properly. This right here is a cordless drill, 20 volt, Black & Decker. Nothing too special, it's not super strong, not weak, I mean it's not nothing, but it'll get the job done for most residential projects. If I'm commercial, I would want something thicker, but when you're starting off, any drill is going to do. Corded drills are going to be a little bit cheaper in most cases than a cordless drill, but once you get a cordless drill, it's hard to go back. They're just so much easier. Like I was saying, cordless drills, once you get them, it's hard to go back and they're not too expensive. When you're trying to use it, this right here is a chuck, and you're going to have a throttle with buttons to go. If you push it in on the right side, then it's going to spin, which way is that? Clockwise, this way. On the right, if you push it on the left, it's going to spin counterclockwise for loosening. So you press the right side clockwise, that's going to tighten it, left is loosen. And for drilling, you might not think it, but it also has an orientation. That these right here are meant to drill clockwise, so that's the right way. That's like you're tightening them. They want to go down. That's something very important because some people will start drilling, working away, and the drill, it's not going in. They're like, why isn't it going? And maybe it goes a little bit, but super slowly. It's because you might have it on the wrong direction. Also, for safety, it has, if you push, balance it in the middle, it's kind of like a safety throttle, little trigger that causes that it won't actually squeeze and activate when you squeeze it. So if you're storing it, you might want to put that in the middle, just so you don't accidentally bump it. One of the first things you want to do if you're drilling, which I should have mentioned earlier, is safety equipment. I'm wearing a pair of safety glasses right now because this right here, it's a power tool. It's pretty strong. It can cause dust to come in your eyes, shoot off, and if you're using a big thread like this, that can really quickly rip off if you are not careful. So wear safety equipment, potentially gloves if you're working with rough material. This right here is just a 1/4 inch ply, not plywood, just working material for like craftsman board, 1/4 inch. So it's pretty thin, but it'll be useful for demonstrating for these purposes. One of the first things that is important to talk about is sizing of your drill bits. This right here is a pretty good kit I have by Craftsman. It gets real small to real large. It's old, but these things are sturdy. It's going to last a while. When you're using a drill, if you're doing a drill bit at least, you're going to want to size it up properly. Too big, it's not going to hold it, and too small, it's going to be difficult. Say I'm trying to do this screw right here. I like to start off somewhere where I think, and what I look at in a screw is something called the shank. The shank is the inside of it, and then there's the threads. So if the threads are, say my finger for example, is the actual shank, then the threads are the spirals around it. You want your drill bit to match the size of the shank and not the threads. The threads you want to be extra around and hold into the wood. So for this one, I'm going to take a drill bit, and one of the other things too that's very important is the threads on these drill bits. If you try and line it up like this and look at it right at the threads, it's kind of hard to tell. A tip I use is look at the back size where it's a solid cylinder. This solid size is going to be the exact same size as the drill bit, and you can hold it up, compare it. That's pretty close, so I'll do it. Another thing is, if in doubt, go smaller with a drill bit. You can always get bigger and bigger and bigger with the drill bit. It's not a big deal. However, once you get too big, you cannot go back down. It's done. The damage is ripped out, it's done. So I'm going to take it and setting it to the right side because we want to go inwards. And then we have the chuck right here. I'm going to close that bad boy on there, keep it nice and straight, tighten it. Then right here you have, this right here is called the clutch. This determines how much force the motor will apply until it cuts off. So say it's really low, like 2 or 2, and all drills are different. This one's just mine. If I give it just a little bit of force, it's going to make that sound, which means it's cutting itself off and not spinning. So that's pretty light force. Then you work it up, requires a little more force, but still stops off. And then at the end, it's pretty super hard, and it all the way actually, it won't even shut off. So what you're doing depends on if you're okay, if it's going to turn, or if it's really hard wood, or what. Drilling, you don't need to set it all the way. Somewhere in the middle is probably good. And screws, start low and work your way up. Same thing with the sizing. So with that, you always want to find your spot. Here I just have some marks. They aren't even related, but we'll use them. Use this cross section right here. When I put it on here, I'm a righty, so it applies mainly to righties. So I have it on the right side. I'm gonna line it up. I think it's often easy. One of the ways I do it with my hands, line it up with two hands, get it on there, and I start at an angle. It's easy for me to just put it at an angle, keep the drill there, but you don't want to drill that in. Once you get there, you're gonna get that straight on it, perfectly perpendicular. That's gonna be your best way of going through. From there, you can slowly ease it on and push it through. Once you get through, that time I went through a little bit fast, but if you're pushing too hard, and another thing, if you want to push the drill through, the best way to do it is right back here. You can get good force. You don't want it to be at an angle. You can push through. So you don't want to push it too hard because otherwise you'll be like, and it'll just slam through. Be gradual, give it some force, but let it work itself through. The drill is designed to drill through things, so let it drill. No need to rush it. It's not going to help. Once it's through, depending on what you're doing, maybe go up and down once, give it a little cleaning, then clean that up. Then you got your hole. That right there, and maybe that's, we're gonna see, I won't even screw it in, but we'll just see, that'd probably be a good size right there, that it gives a little bit of force, but it's enough to just balance it. If I'm gonna do a bigger drill bit, and I just do that real quick, it's very easy for me to add on a larger drill bit. So say I take this, open the chuck up. Oh, sorry, just going quick. Tightening the chuck. It's very easy for me, and it also makes that center hole for me just to pump that right through. It's going to be very quick. However, so if you're going big, if you're doing something like one of these, I recommend starting with something smaller to set a pilot hole, and then it helps set the center. Because these ones, maybe I'll demonstrate in a second, won't even get too big. Say this one, because it's so flat at the top, barely even fits in my drill. Yeah, I have another bigger drill running around here. We'll just go with this one for now. This big one, it's very hard to be precise with this. You can't really tell. Then maybe you're on the X, maybe you're not, and it's just going to be harder for it. Let's see. It does a fine job, but if you have a pilot starting hole, it's much easier to just slide that through and make it nice and steady. There you go. I talked about how to size a screw earlier. Nail. If you're going to be drilling a nail first, you probably don't need to. Nails are designed to be used with just a hammer. Just get something, just drive that bad boy in with a hammer. But if you insist, or if it's a tough angle, if it's hard wood, or you're not too experienced, especially indoor, if you're not too experienced in a residential, like inside a house, if you don't want to risk damaging something, there's no shame in that. With a nail though, it is different than a screw. A screw's function is to stop pulling out. That's why they have the threads, to stop pulling out. A nail, you also don't want to pull out, but by doing a hole, it's going to have much easier slide in and out. So with a nail, its job is mainly to be strong with downward pressure like this to stop it from bending. It's not really designed to stop pulling out. So at that, you can't do, if you match the size of this shank, it's going to pull out too easily. So you really only want to just do a pilot hole, which means just something really small that will lead it, give you like the leading direction and initial finding for it. So I'll just go real small here, something nice and small, probably about half the size of the shank here. I'm going to take it. Got it? You can see just how small that is compared to it. Say I want it right in this line right here. I'm going to get it, 90 degrees, in the back. Quickly through because it's so small. And then again, it's not going to go through, but it's just enough to give it a little guiding force, which probably don't need, but there you go. And that's right through. So that's for a nail. Probably not necessary, but again, when in doubt, just go smaller. Doesn't hurt, and if it doesn't go in, you can always go bigger later. But again, just can't go smaller if you go too big too early. With a drill, like I said, I recommend getting a cordless drill. Just makes everything so much easier. Charging it, I mean, these batteries last a while if you're not using it much. With drill bits, I recommend getting some sort of a kit. You probably don't need this many drill bits here. I mean, I don't even need this many drill bits here. I just need a couple specific ones. But kits are inexpensive ways to get a whole bunch of them. Even just getting a small rack like this, or there's whole different variety kits at Home Depot, or Lowe's, wherever you go, your local Ace, they're everywhere. Just get a cheap kit and it'll be fine at first. Later on, if you need stronger drill bits, go ahead and get some fancy ones, get them diamond coated or whatever, and you can really do some work. But for now, just get something. If you're looking to start, get a cheap cordless drill, cheap drill bits, and hopefully that should start you off. If you found this video useful, give it a like, give it a thumbs up or a dislike. And if you want to visit us, learn more about these cool tool belts, find some more tips on our blog or suggest ideas, visit our website at rdawg.com. That's rdawg.com. Thanks for watching. Have a great day. Bye.